Hello everyone, Floyd Zuber here. Last time in the previous video we talked about how Republicans were disrupting the first principle in the preamble to the Constitution. That was forming a more perfect union. Now I want to talk about the second of the 6 principles identified in the preamble. Establish justice. We'll see what's been happening with that now. Yes, words do matter, and some more than others. I think that justice is one of those words, and Cornell Law School has 2 meanings that are relevant to this discussion. The first meaning, justice is the ethical, philosophical idea that people are to be treated impartially, fairly, properly, and reasonably by the law and the arbiters of the law. You would think that being impartially, fairly, properly, and reasonably is the standard protocol. Try that as an individual butting heads with a corporation in a court of law. After all this time, you would think the courts would have realized that imbalance in the resources between an individual and a corporation. They say that justice is blind. Yeah, I believe it. And the second meaning provided by Cornell, justice being a legal structure or system to judge in a general sense who's accorded benefits or burden, well, in practice, it falls apart when the justice system is expected to be colorblind to race or gender or economic status or social status. Reality always intrudes again and again and again. For the most part, I think these meanings are reasonable enough, and I think most people in the United States would agree with that. However, there are several exploitations of the justice system in this country. We can't look at all of them, but if you look closely, there is a pattern. Overall, we can say that the system exploits on the basis of economics with a special emphasis on racism. Corporation and rich folks have their fingers on the scales of justice. That should be obvious from the Supreme Court ruling on Citizens United. Corporations have rights, and the more money they have, the more rights they have. If you haven't noticed, you should have been paying better attention. Republican legislatures are passing laws that increase the rights of corporations to pollute the environment, force excessive costs onto consumers, deny workers a level playing field in wage negotiations. They withhold affordable health care, increasing the risk to bankruptcy. And they subject the population to misinformation and disinformation with impunity. They either do it on their own or sometimes with the help of Fox News. Yep. There's a lot more to the economic basis, but not much time to discuss it. Wonder on your own, if you dare, about how many advantages given to corporations would actually help the common folk. There are some who are just a little bit better off than most and think that there's nothing to worry about, that the disadvantage hasn't caught up to them yet, and they think it never will. I have 2 words for that: illusion and delusion, and they both fit. If you look at high-profile legal cases, they're the ones that capture the public's attention and imagination. They're the ones that misrepresent the justice system as working. On an individual basis, how many of us can actually afford to lose our income or our wealth, slight as it is, our homes to do courtroom battle with a corporate Goliath? Not many of you are going to be raising your hands anytime soon. The odds of winning in court favor those with the money, and you better believe that. Where's the justice? Show me the money. Regardless of the inequity in the justice system overall, those who suffer the most are Black Americans. The reason? Easy target: systemic racism. Historically, that's been the go-to practice. Plant irrational fears into the public mind about the character of black citizens, always worded in a way to facilitate bigotry against blacks from willing whites. To justify that view, arrests of black citizens on minor offenses are pursued more often. Incarceration rates are higher than whites for similar offenses. It's blacks who have been forced into economic disadvantage because of these practices. And don't say it's their own doing, because the advantage always goes to the white guy, and don't tell me you haven't noticed. Justice? Fairness? What did Cornell Law School say about that? So, does justice in the United States have a currency? Yep, it's the almighty dollar. Hell, even religions in the United States idolize the almighty dollar. Just take a look at some of our televangelists. Honestly, how else can you explain the decisions to weaken the ability for class action suits? Corporations know that large groups of citizens suing are more likely to get a judgment against the corporation, and a large one at that. They're not sued because they have deep pockets, which they filled with questionable business practices. It's because they caused harm to the public, either physically or financially, and deserve to pay, because they caused the big damage. What did Cornell Law School say about justice? Forget about what Cornell said. How do you get justice if you can't pay for it? Okay, this concludes our discussion about establishing justice. In the next video, I want to talk about ensuring domestic tranquility. What the hell happened with that? We'll see what Republicans have been doing to we, the people of the United States, when it comes to domestic tranquility. See you then.